There is a quiet but persistent question, sometimes arising at 2 a.m., or when you're sitting in a crowd and suddenly feel empty. Am I wasting my life? You still go to work on time. You fulfill your responsibilities. You can smile when needed, nod when someone asks, "Are you okay?" But deep inside, something feels off. This feeling isn't loud. It's not panic. It's a heavy silence, as if you're drifting through your own life without truly feeling it belongs to you. Maybe you once thought it was anxiety. Maybe you visited a doctor, and after a brief conversation, you left with a prescription, one pill in the morning, another at night. Over time, your emotions dulled. No more sharp pain, but no intensity either. You exist, but you're not living. Carl Jung, the great psychoanalyst, once said, "Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering." What does that mean? It means sometimes you're not sick. You're just running from the pain you need to feel in order to change your life. Paradoxically, the emptiness you feel might be the first real chance to listen to yourself. Not the voices of society, not the shoulds and musts imposed on you since childhood, but your original voice, the voice of your soul. If you're here, if you're still searching, then please stay. This video isn't for those who want to forget. It's for those tired of pretending, for those ready to embark on the most honest journey of their lives. The journey back to the person they've forgotten. Maybe you're not sick. Maybe you're just living wrong. Have you ever felt like you're living as an empty shell? Each day passes with tasks. Work, emails, meetings, small talk. But when night falls, as you lie alone in silence, a question pierces you. Does any of this mean anything? That feeling isn't rare. It's increasingly common. A global emptiness. Sadly, we often label it too simply. Anxiety, depression, stress. But if Jung was right, and many modern psychologists agree, these feelings aren't just medical issues. They're urgent signals from the soul, whispering, "This life isn't for you," Jung said. Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. What does that mean? Simply, when you live out of alignment with your true self, your soul reacts. But instead of facing it, we avoid it. We bury our unease with busy schedules, movies, social media, coffee, medication, anything to silence the inner voice. I was stuck in that state for a year. Every morning, I woke up feeling like I had to live. Not wanted to. My career was stable, and everyone thought I had it all. But I felt nothing. No sadness, no joy. Just prolonged numbness. And I did everything to ignore it. Except listen. It took me a long time to realize. What I felt wasn't illness. It was a disconnect between my soul and the life I'd chosen. My soul was speaking, but no one taught me how to listen. We grow up in a society that teaches us how to function, but not how to be. We know how to work, earn, impress, but no one asks, what does your true self want? If you've ever felt empty, don't assume you're broken. You might be facing a rare opportunity, the chance to dialogue with yourself. And from there, begin an honest, liberating journey. The journey back to who you really are. You're not broken. You're reacting to a life that doesn't fit your soul. In a world that prioritizes productivity, order, and adaptation, any psychological state outside the norm is seen as a system error. Emotions like anxiety, depression, or exhaustion are no longer treated as internal signals to heed, but as glitches to fix quickly. And here, humanity loses something sacred, the ability to connect with its inner truth. Jung believed many so-called disorders are the soul's rational response to a meaningless life. When you live against your nature, when you ignore your inner voice too long, your mind and body protest. But instead of listening, modern society teaches you to fix it with pills, distractions, busyness, anything to return you to normal. The problem? That normal is a societal template where people must always be happy, efficient, and never unsettled. But the soul doesn't obey system logic. It moves to the rhythm of truth and won't stop knocking until heard. Jung warned, suppressing symptoms without understanding their roots creates an illusion of healing. You might feel okay temporarily, but deep down, the split continues. Over time, it accumulates into a greater crisis, because the soul cannot be silenced forever. Healing doesn't lie in eliminating discomfort. It begins when you stop judging yourself for feeling it and start questioning it. Not, how do I stop hurting? But, what is this pain telling me? Because every emotional struggle, if understood, carries a message. And that message can only be heard when you're brave enough to be still and listen. You were not born to become the version the world wants. Existing as a copy is easy, but existing as yourself, that is the greatest challenge a person can face. Carl Jung called this challenge individuation, a profound psychological process where one sheds externally imposed images to begin touching their true inner essence. Individuation is not a concrete goal you achieve and complete. It is a prolonged, layered, and often uncomfortable process. To become yourself, you must remove every mask. The mask of obedience, of perfection, of social roles. What remains is the raw self, often fragile, contradictory, even bewildering. But it is real. Jung did not view individuation as self-improvement in the conventional sense. He believed improvement often stems from external pressure, to be correct, likable, or accomplished. Individuation, meanwhile, is the reconciliation of opposites within the soul, including the parts you've denied, despised, or dared not confront. In the depths of psychology, Jung observed, most of what you consider flaws aren't actually problems. They're merely aspects not yet understood or integrated. This is the task of individuation. Accepting all of yourself, not just what's charming and pleasant, but also the anger, selfishness, fear, and chaos. All are part of wholeness. The pivotal moment in this process is encountering what Jung called the shadow, the instinctive, unconscious, primal part of you. It's what you've hidden to gain acceptance, what you've labeled evil. But Jung warned, if you don't acknowledge and face the shadow, it will control you silently from the depths of your unconscious. Only when you begin integrating the shadow do you truly become free. You no longer fight yourself. You stop judging yourself through the lens of artificial morality. You start feeling real life, not through perfection, but through authenticity. This is where Jung asserted, humans don't need to become better, but more whole. Individuation is the path back to that state, unfragmented, unhidden, undivided. A living unity where the outer eye and the inner soul finally meet. You're not too tired. You're too far from what makes your life meaningful. In the modern world, amid technological achievements, material comforts, and endless choices, people face a nameless emptiness. The feeling of living without knowing why, waking each morning without inner drive. This isn't laziness, nor personal failure. For Carl Jung, it's a crisis of meaning, a profound disconnect between a person and their own soul. From early on, we're trained to live outwardly, chasing achievements, status, norms, and socially defined rewards. Everything revolves around fitting in, succeeding, being validated. But Jung noted, when inner life is forgotten, when people no longer know who they are behind their roles, a soullessness creeps in. Quiet but persistent, it erodes life from within. Meaning, to Jung, isn't abstract or mystical. It's simply alignment between outer actions and inner essence. When you live against this, the soul sends signals, fatigue, disorientation, inexplicable sadness. If ignored, these escalate into clearer symptoms: anxiety, depression, emotional numbness. Modern society's flaw is its inability to heed these signals. Every discomfort is labeled abnormal and hastily eliminated. Instead of asking, why do I feel empty? people are taught to escape through entertainment, medication, or workaholism. But Jung warned, any solution not rooted in reconnecting with personal meaning is temporary. Meaning cannot come from outside. No social status, wealth, or admiration can fill the void created by self-alienation. Jung believed each person must return to dialogue with themselves, asking, what makes me feel truly alive? Without an answer, the emptiness persists, no matter how frantically you stuff it with external things. A crisis of meaning isn't proof you're on the wrong path, but that you've stayed too long on a path not meant for you. And in that realization, the journey back to your inner truth truly begins. Perhaps the problem isn't you, but the environment that made you forget yourself. Humans don't form in a vacuum. From birth, we're shaped by our surroundings, culture, education, media, invisible moral norms. Gradually, these external elements define the internal I. Until one day, people no longer distinguish their true nature from the imposed image. Carl Jung recognized that much modern psychological pain stems not from personal weakness, but a misalignment between one's environment and the soul's needs. We live in a society that prizes productivity, appearance, competition, and superficiality. In such a world, our natural essence, emotional, instinctive, chaotic, and unique, is suppressed and fragmented. Rather than teaching self-understanding, this world pushes people to improve by common standards. These standards seem harmless, but are spiritual shackles, trapping people in an endless chase. Chronic fatigue, disorientation, and estrangement from one's own life arise from living too long by a script never truly chosen. For Jung, inner recovery requires awareness of how societal conditions have shaped us. It's the first step back to true individuality. When we stop blindly conforming and start living with discernment, society may reward adaptation, but the soul craves only truth. When a person lives too far from themselves, the soul will speak, not to disrupt, but to remind. And if heard, that reminder can begin the journey home, not to a place, but to the forgotten self. The time has come for you to choose. Continue existing or begin living. Every life eventually reaches an unavoidable crossroads. Not a dramatic event or tragedy, but a quiet yet profound moment, when you clearly feel, I can no longer live as I have been. This is the pivotal point of soul maturation. Carl Jung called it the individuation threshold. When one confronts the truth that most of their life has been reflex, habit, and borrowed patterns from society, family, and others' expectations. Once realized, there's no turning back. You must choose. One option is to keep pretending, to keep functioning, as if nothing's wrong. To wear masks, chase standards you didn't set. This choice feels safe because it's familiar. It's socially rewarded. But the price is your very soul. The other choice is to start living authentically. It's far from easy. It demands releasing assumptions, questioning even your certainties. Who are you? What truly matters? What's yours? And what's merely borrowed? Jung declared, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But this privilege demands courage. Courage to be lonely. Courage to go unapplauded. Courage to disappoint yourself before rebirth into deeper truth. This choice doesn't come from logic. It's not a hasty decision. It's the result of inner listening, where your soul can no longer endure a single day misaligned with its essence. Jung believed, truth doesn't wound you, avoiding it does. The longer you delay, the vaster the emptiness grows. Your soul isn't silent. It screams through discontent, exhaustion, and inexplicable sorrow. When facing this choice, remember, you don't need to be better by any standard. You only need honesty. For when you're true to yourself, you stop living on loan. You begin living from within, with wholeness. And that is real freedom. You cannot half live with yourself forever. There comes a time when excuses expire. You can no longer blame circumstances, the past, or others. Your soul demands one thing: absolute self-honesty. Jung never promised awakening would be easy. He saw it as life's hardest path, forcing you to release illusions you clung to for safety. It strips away every layer, rationalizations, facades, norms you've outgrown, until you face your raw, unfiltered self. No one can do this for you. No advice, success formula, or pill can replace the dialogue between you and your soul. You could keep living as before, working, spending, laughing, connecting, yet deep down, you'll always sense something nameless, shapeless, but real. It's your deepest self, still waiting for your return. Jung said, "Enlightenment comes not by imagining light, but by making darkness conscious." This means, don't chase perfect ideals. Dare instead to enter your shadows, where you've hidden fears, pains, and denied truths. There, you'll find the key, not to become someone else, but to return to yourself. Whole, undivided, done pretending. Ultimately, authentic living isn't for the crowd. It's for those weary of lies, sick of hollow stability, ready to trade safety for meaning. If you've listened this far, perhaps you're at that crossroads too, and only you can choose the next step. Sparkles, now it's your turn. What did you feel after this? Which part resonated most? Share your raw thoughts below. I read every word. To continue exploring depth psychology through Jung's lens, subscribe and enable notifications. The next video will delve deeper into facing your shadows and transforming them into strength.